Good afternoon. I am Dr. James Whitaker from American Urologist, and I want to ask you to think about 2 in the afternoon, because for an enormous number of men over 60, 2 in the afternoon is a very specific time of day. It is the time when the energy that was there, maybe not abundant but manageable, just stops. You sit down after lunch and something inside you drops. Your concentration goes soft. Your motivation evaporates. Your eyes want to close. The things you were planning to do in the afternoon suddenly feel like they require an effort you are not sure you can generate. You push through, maybe. Or you give yourself 30 minutes on the couch, which sometimes helps and sometimes leaves you groggy for the rest of the afternoon anyway. And by evening, you have not done what you intended to do, and you feel a quiet frustration about it that you do not quite know what to do with. If that is your 2 in the afternoon, I want to tell you something important. This is not laziness. It is not poor sleep, although poor sleep makes it worse. It is not just getting older, although aging is part of the picture. What is happening at 2 in the afternoon in your body is a specific, identifiable, addressable biological event, and it has 2 primary drivers that most doctors never discuss and that respond to specific, inexpensive, and surprisingly simple interventions. The first driver is cortisol rhythm disruption. Cortisol, your primary stress and alertness hormone, follows a natural daily curve in healthy humans. It peaks sharply in the first hour after waking, giving you the morning alertness and energy that the day requires. Then it gradually declines through the morning, reaches a secondary plateau in the mid-morning, and should maintain a moderate level through the early afternoon, before declining more steeply in the evening as your body begins preparing for sleep. In a healthy cortisol rhythm, that mid-afternoon period is manageable, lower than morning, but not crashed. But in men over 60 who have experienced years of poor sleep, chronic stress, or the natural cortisol dysregulation that comes with aging, this daily curve flattens and disrupts. The morning peak is blunted. You do not feel as alert in the morning as you should, and the afternoon portion of the curve drops too steeply and too early. Instead of maintaining a moderate level through the early afternoon, it crashes at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, producing exactly the energy collapse and mental fog you experience. The second driver is mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria are the energy-producing organelles inside your cells. Every cell in your body contains them, and they are responsible for converting the food you eat into ATP, the molecular currency of cellular energy. After 60, mitochondrial efficiency naturally declines. The number of mitochondria per cell decreases. Their ability to produce ATP from a given amount of fuel diminishes, and 2 specific nutrients that are essential for mitochondrial function, CoQ10 and vitamin B12, become increasingly difficult for the body to produce and absorb in adequate amounts with age. CoQ10 is a compound your cells synthesize and use as a critical component of the electron transport chain, the biochemical process by which mitochondria produce ATP. After 60, cellular CoQ10 production drops significantly. Statin medications, which millions of men over 60 take for cholesterol, further deplete CoQ10 because statins block the same enzymatic pathway that produces both cholesterol and CoQ10 simultaneously. If you are on a statin and you have afternoon energy crashes, there is a meaningful probability that CoQ10 depletion is a significant contributor. Vitamin B12 is essential for the health and efficiency of every mitochondrion in your body, and B12 absorption from food declines substantially with age due to reduced production of intrinsic factor in the stomach, a protein required to absorb B12. Studies show that up to 30% of adults over 60 have vitamin B12 insufficiency even when they consume adequate amounts in food, simply because they can no longer absorb it properly. Let me tell you about Leonard. Leonard is 64 years old, a retired mechanical engineer from Indianapolis, Indiana. Leonard had been on a statin for 8 years. He had never been told that statins deplete CoQ10. He had never been told about CoQ10 at all. His afternoon energy crash had been worsening over the 3 years since his statin dose was increased. He mentioned it to his doctor at a routine appointment, and his doctor said, "That is pretty common as we get older," recommended more coffee. Leonard, who had spent his career diagnosing why mechanical systems failed, found the answer, more coffee, unsatisfying. He asked if there was a specific mechanism behind the fatigue. His doctor said, "Probably just aging." Leonard went home and researched. He found the statin CoQ10 depletion connection within 20 minutes of searching. He asked himself, "Why did no one tell me this?" He did not have a good answer. He started CoQ10, 200 milligrams of ubiquinol form, the most bioavailable form for men over 60, and vitamin B12 as methylcobalamin sublingual, 1,000 micrograms daily, held under the tongue for absorption that bypasses the intrinsic factor problem. Within 3 weeks, his afternoon energy had meaningfully improved. Within 6 weeks, the crash was essentially gone. The 4-part fix I'm going to give you addresses both the cortisol rhythm issue and the mitochondrial issue simultaneously. Part 1 is CoQ10 as ubiquinol, 200 milligrams, taken with breakfast. The ubiquinol form, not ubiquinone, the cheaper form in most drugstore supplements, is the form that men over 60 absorb and utilize most effectively. Part 2 is methylcobalamin B12, 1,000 micrograms, sublingual, meaning you put it under your tongue and let it dissolve rather than swallowing it. The sublingual absorption bypasses the intrinsic factor requirement entirely and ensures you are actually getting the B12 into your bloodstream regardless of your stomach's ability to produce intrinsic factor. Part 3 is no simple carbohydrates at lunch. This is the cortisol piece. When you eat a lunch heavy in simple carbohydrates, white bread, white rice, pasta, crackers, anything that digests quickly into glucose, your blood sugar spikes sharply and then crashes. That blood sugar crash at 1 or 2 in the afternoon coincides with and amplifies the natural cortisol dip, producing a combined energy valley that is far deeper than either would be alone. A lunch centered on protein, healthy fat, and fiber-rich vegetables produces a slow, stable glucose release that keeps blood sugar level through the afternoon, preventing the amplification of the cortisol dip. Specifically, a lunch with at least 25 to 30 grams of protein, minimal simple carbohydrates, and at least 1 serving of non-starchy vegetables. Part 4 is a 10-minute walk immediately after lunch. This is the single most effective intervention for preventing the post-lunch energy crash, and the mechanism is straightforward. Walking after lunch activates your large muscle groups, which absorb glucose from the bloodstream for fuel. This blunts the post-meal blood sugar spike, prevents the subsequent crash, and produces a small but meaningful cortisol pulse that extends your afternoon alertness window. A study published in Diabetes Care found that a 15-minute walk after meals was more effective at stabilizing blood sugar than a single 45-minute walk at another time of day. The timing matters. Right after eating, while glucose is still being absorbed. 10 minutes is enough. Let me tell you about Arthur. Arthur is 69 years old, a retired high school history teacher from Louisville, Kentucky. Arthur had the afternoon crash for years and had adapted his entire day around it, scheduling anything important in the morning and writing off the afternoon as a rest period. He had accepted it completely as just who he was now. He started the 4-part protocol: ubiquinol at breakfast, sublingual B12 daily, protein and vegetable lunch replacing his usual sandwich and chips, 10-minute walk right after eating. Week 1, he noticed his lunch felt more satisfying and he was less drowsy at 1 o'clock. Week 2, the afternoon walk had become a habit he actually looked forward to. Week 3, he realized one evening that he had been productive until 4:30 without any energy dip worth mentioning. He told his wife that afternoon. She said, "You have been in a good mood since 3 o'clock 3 days in a row. What did you do?" He told her. She said, "Why did no doctor ever tell you this?" Arthur said, "That is exactly what Leonard said, and Gerald, and most men over 60 who find this information. It is not complicated, it is not expensive, and it makes a real, daily quality of life difference that no prescription has ever made for this particular problem. 200 milligrams ubiquinol at breakfast, 1,000 micrograms methylcobalamin B12 sublingual daily, protein and vegetable lunch, no simple carbs, 10-minute walk right after eating. That is the entire protocol. Give it 3 weeks. If this video helped you, please hit like and subscribe. Leave your age and city in the comments. I read every single one. And if you know a man who writes off his afternoons as lost time because he is always exhausted, share this video with him. His afternoons are not gone. He just needs the right information. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.